Welcome to Storytime with Killian Flynn. Today's story is Eli's Vengeance, a horror suspense story by Killian Flynn. The Outcast. In the quiet town of Meadowgrove, where the scent of pine and the hum of distant industry filled the air, lived a boy named Eli Turner. Eli had always been an outsider. His pale complexion, awkward demeanor, and bookish nature made him an easy target. Some kids were ignored in high school. Others were bullied. Eli? He was hunted. From the moment he set foot in Meadowgrove High, he was marked. His tormentors were relentless, and at the center of them all stood Jake Harper, athletic, arrogant, and utterly devoid of remorse. Lunch hour. The cafeteria, the setting for one of many humiliations. "Hey, elf boy," Jake sneered, a cruel grin stretching across his perfect face. Eli had been walking carefully, his tray balanced with the precision of someone who had learned the hard way never to spill anything. But it didn't matter. Jake's foot shot out. A trip. Eli crashed forward, his tray flipping, its contents soaring into the air before slamming onto him like a grotesque rainstorm. Mashed potatoes smeared across his hoodie. Milk dripped from his hair. Laughter erupted from every direction. Jake and his gang howled. "You should see your face," Jake cackled, slapping his knee. Eli's fists clenched, his vision blurring with hot, angry tears. He wanted to fight back. He wanted to hurt Jake, but he knew the rules. The second he so much as raised a hand, the teachers would swoop in, and somehow, Jake would be the victim. He had learned that lesson before. Swallowing his pride, he turned and walked out of the cafeteria, still soaked in food, ignoring the chorus of cruel laughter behind him. A place of secrets. Eli's only solace was the long walk home. He always took the back road, cutting past the abandoned chemical factory on the outskirts of town. Most kids stayed away from it, whispering rumors of accidents and mutations. But Eli wasn't like most kids. The factory was a graveyard of twisted metal and forgotten history, its rusted fences warning intruders to stay away. It had once been the pride of Meadowgrove, providing hundreds of jobs. But when an industrial accident poisoned the river, it was shut down overnight. Some said the land itself had never recovered. Eli found himself standing at the gate, staring at the gaping entrance. A no trespassing sign hung lopsided, ignored by time and nature. Today, he wanted to go inside. His fingertips trembled as he pushed the gate open. The hinges groaned, resisting him, but they gave way. He stepped into the darkness. The transformation. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay and chemicals. Machines stood frozen in time, their metallic arms reaching toward the ceiling like the skeletal remains of some ancient beast. Eli's footsteps echoed through the vast emptiness. And then he saw it. A vat, its surface caked with years of dust, yet its contents still glowed with a strange, pulsing crimson light. It shouldn't have been possible. He stepped closer. Something inside the vat stirred. His heart pounded. He knew he should turn back, leave and never return. But something called to him. His fingers brushed against the edge. The metal was warm. A pulse ran through his fingertips. Then, before he could stop himself, Eli leaned forward, peering into the shimmering red abyss. His reflection stared back at him, distorted by the liquid's unnatural glow. And then he fell in. A scream tore from his throat as he was engulfed. The liquid burned, but not like fire. It was cold, like something alien crawling through his veins, fusing with his flesh. He thrashed, but it was too late. The crimson abyss swallowed him whole. Rebirth in blood. Eli woke up on the factory floor, his body twitching in the aftermath of the transformation. At first, everything felt wrong. His limbs tingled, his heartbeat too loud in his ears. But as he sat up, realization hit him like a freight train. He could see clearer, hear everything. The faint whisper of rats in the walls, the distant drip of a leaking pipe. And worst of all, he was hungry. Not for food, for something else. A rat scurried across the floor, his gaze locked onto it, an instinct awakening inside him. Before he even consciously acted, a thin stream of crimson liquid shot from his lips. The rat convulsed. It didn't scream. It didn't bleed. It simply melted. Its body turned into a puddle of water, evaporating into nothing. Eli stared, his breath hitching. His hands shook, his mind reeling. He had done that. He was something else now. And then a thought whispered through his mind. You don't have to be a victim anymore. The words curled around his soul, warm and inviting. Eli clenched his fists, breathing heavily. Jake Harper. The name seared into his mind like a brand. Jake had ruled Meadowgrove High with his cruelty. But now, Eli had power, and he was going to use it. The reckoning. The first kill. Eli stood over the shallow puddle where Jake Harper had once been. The forest was eerily silent, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Jake Harper, the untouchable, the king of Meadowgrove High, was gone. No screams, no blood. No body, only water. Eli took a shaky breath. His heart pounded, but not from fear. He felt alive. A slow grin spread across his face. Jake had always laughed at him. Now Jake was nothing. Eli knelt, running his fingers through the cool liquid, watching as it seeped into the dirt. A twisted thought formed in his mind. I could do it again. His tormentors had ruled his life for years. Jake was only the beginning. The others would follow. The town of shadows. The disappearance of Jake Harper shook Meadowgrove to its core. By the next morning, news flooded the school. Jake never came home. His parents called the cops. They found his bike near the woods, but no sign of him. It's like he just vanished, or the halls buzzed with nervous energy. The usual cocky jocks, Jake's cronies, stood together, their laughter replaced by hushed whispers. For the first time ever, the predators of Meadowgrove High looked afraid. Eli sat in class, watching them, savoring it. No one paid him any attention. No one ever did. He was invisible, the same way he had always been. But now his invisibility was his greatest weapon. As the hours passed, the whispers grew. The town set a curfew. Police cars patrolled the streets. But no one had any real answers. Jake Harper had disappeared, and Eli had made it happen. The next name on the list night fell, and Eli felt the hunger again. A primal urge clawed at his chest, curling around his ribs like something alive. He needed to do it again. And he knew exactly who was next. Liam Grayson, one of Jake's closest friends, a brute with a love for violence and cruelty. Eli had spent years avoiding his fists in the hallways. Years of bruises, stolen lunch money, and threats whispered just low enough so teachers wouldn't hear. Not anymore. Eli followed him that night. Liam's house sat at the edge of town where the road stretched into dense farmland. Eli watched from the shadows as Liam stepped onto his front porch, stretching lazily before heading toward the driveway. He was alone. Perfect. Eli stepped forward. Liam? Liam turned, frowning into the darkness. Who the hell? Then his eyes found Eli, and he laughed. Eli? What the hell are you doing outside at night, nerd? Liam snorted. What, gonna beg me not to beat your ass tomorrow? Eli smiled. Liam's laughter faltered. What the? Eli opened his mouth. A thin, shimmering red mist curled from his lips, twisting through the air like a serpent. Liam jerked back, coughing as the mist wrapped around him. What the hell is this? He staggered, clutching his chest. Eli took a step forward. I want you to feel what I felt, he whispered. Liam choked. His body convulsed, his skin shimmering as if something beneath the surface was boiling. Help! The word barely escaped his throat before his entire form collapsed into water. A single puddle remained. Eli stared, his breath coming in short, exhilarated gasps. It was just as easy as before, and it felt even better. Fear spreads like a disease. By the next day, Liam Grayson was missing. 2 in 1 week. The town spiraled into panic. The police swarmed the school, questioning students, gathering leads. Parents locked their doors at night. Jake Harper and Liam Grayson were nowhere to be found. No bodies. No clues. Just gone. Eli listened to the murmurs with a secret thrill. The town was drowning in fear, but he wasn't done yet. No? Not even close. The breaking point days passed, and the puzzle pieces began to click together. The bullies who once tormented Eli were now terrified to leave their homes. They spoke in hushed voices. Some stopped coming to school. Eli watched them crumble. But something else had begun to change inside him. The hunger was growing. At first, he had only wanted revenge. But now it felt necessary, like breathing, like drinking water, like living. And that was when he realized he wasn't in control anymore. The power inside him, it wanted more, and more, and more. The one who knew Eli should have been more careful, but power had made him arrogant. And that was how Lily discovered his secret. It was late, past curfew. Eli had just finished his latest hunt, one of Jake's last remaining friends. Another puddle, another name erased, but he had been followed. And when he turned around, she was standing there. Lily Carlson, the only friend he had ever known. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with horror. Eli, her voice was barely a whisper. "Oh my God, it's you. It was you all along." Eli froze. "Lily!" She stumbled back, shaking her head. I saw it," she gasped. You killed him, just like the others. I thought..." Her voice broke. "I thought you were different." Eli stepped toward her. "Lily, I don't..." Her voice hardened. "You were my friend, Eli, but this isn't you. This is a monster." A sharp pain stabbed through Eli's chest. "Monster!" The word echoed through his skull. "Monster! Monster! Monster!" His breathing quickened. Something inside him snapped, and for the first time, Eli felt afraid. Not of Lily, of himself. A choice in the darkness. Lily turned to run. Eli's hands twitched. He could stop her. One breath, one whisper of red mist, and she would be gone. Just another puddle in the dirt. But his chest ached. His fingers curled into fists. And for the first time since his transformation, a different thought entered his mind. Stop. This isn't what you wanted. He closed his eyes. The hunger screamed, demanding more, demanding Lily's life. But Eli took a step back. Lily was crying, and he knew if he killed her now, there was no turning back. He would be a monster forever. And so, for the first time, he ran. The descent, the town on edge. Eli stayed hidden for 2 days after Lily saw him. 2 days of silence. 2 days of feeling the hunger claw at his insides. Meadowgrove was falling apart. The disappearances had left the town in a state of pure terror. Jake Harper, Liam Grayson, Brandon Ellis, Cole Davidson. 4 teenagers, gone without a trace. The police had no bodies, no clues, just piles of empty clothes and shallow puddles of water at the last known locations of the victims. The town enforced a curfew. Businesses closed early. The school felt like a funeral home. Hallways silent, students whispering in small clusters, eyes darting toward every shadow. Eli watched from the sidelines, unseen. But inside he was unraveling. He was hungry. The more he used his power, the more it demanded from him. At first, he had only wanted revenge. But now it felt necessary. Like something inside him was growing, becoming its own separate thing. A voice. A whisper. He clutched his stomach, wincing. His skin tingled unnaturally, veins pulsing with something not quite human. The hunger was getting louder, and if he didn't feed it soon, it might consume him entirely. The hunt continues. He had to choose another target, and fast. That night, he slipped through the streets, careful to avoid the roaming police patrols. There was one last name on his list. Ethan Reynolds, Jake's second in command. If anyone deserved to die, it was him. Eli found him behind the school, standing with a group of nervous-looking friends, smoking under the bleachers. He watched from the shadows, waiting. Ethan's face was pale, his hands twitching as he inhaled his cigarette. "They're saying it's a serial killer," one of the boys muttered. Ethan scoffed, but his voice wasn't confident. "Bullshit. It's some freak coincidence," he said, but then glanced over his shoulder. "Right?" No one answered. The fear was settling in. Eli took a step closer. And then, Ethan's phone rang. He jumped, nearly dropping it. "Jesus, Mom," he grumbled, answering. "I said I'd be home soon. Then he froze. His mother's voice came through the speaker, trembling, desperate. "Ethan, where are you? It's Lily. She told the police something. They're looking for someone." Eli's breath hitched. The others stared at Ethan. What did she say?" he asked, his voice breaking. There was a pause. Then his mother whispered something into the phone. Ethan's face turned ghost white. His hand dropped to his side. Slowly, his eyes moved across the field and landed directly on Eli. The group fell silent. Eli's stomach dropped. Lily told them. They knew the police were looking for him. For the first time in weeks, Eli felt panic grip his chest. And then, the hunger screamed. Louder than ever. More, his vision blurred. Ethan took a step back. Eli? Eli opened his mouth. A flood of crimson mist erupted from his lips. The others screamed. But Ethan! Ethan was already gone. His body melted into liquid, his form dissolving into a pitiful, trembling puddle beneath the bleachers. Eli gasped, staggering back. He had never used that much power before. The others ran for their lives, shouting, screaming, running toward the police station. And Eli? Eli collapsed to his knees, gripping his head. The hunger was still there. It wanted more. And now, the entire town knew his secret. The fugitive Eli ran faster than he ever had before. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he had to get away. The sirens started minutes later. Flashing red and blue lights tore through the streets. The town was on lockdown. He could hear his own name crackling over police radios. Suspect Eli Turner. Teenage male, last seen at Meadowgrove High. Considered dangerous. Dangerous? The word made him laugh bitterly. If only they knew. If only they knew what was really inside him. He hid behind an abandoned gas station, breathing heavily. His fingers trembled. His skin felt too hot. His veins pulsed, his body aching for more. More! More! No! He snarled, slamming his fist into the concrete. A deep crack splintered through the pavement. He gritted his teeth. He couldn't let this thing take over completely. But there was one problem. If he didn't feed it soon, he wasn't sure if he could stop it at all. And then, a familiar voice broke through his thoughts. Eli, his head snapped up. Standing just a few feet away was Lily. Lily's last plea. Lily's eyes were wet with tears. She didn't move. She didn't run. She just stood there, staring at the boy she once called her best friend. Eli, she whispered again. What have you done? He laughed bitterly. Why do you care? His voice was hoarse. You told them what I am. Lily swallowed. I had to, Eli, this isn't who you are. His body twitched. He could feel the hunger curling around his bones, whispering to him. Lily, he said slowly, his voice almost pleading. I don't want to hurt you. Well, then stop. Eli shook his head. I don't think I can. A tear slipped down her cheek. Yes, you can. She stepped forward. Eli's whole body screamed at him to attack, to kill, to feed, but he didn't move. She reached for his hand. He flinched. Her fingers were warm, human. She whispered, You can still choose. You can still stop this. Eli's throat tightened. The hunger fought, tearing at him, screaming. But Lily was still holding his hand, and for the first time in weeks, Eli felt something else. Something that wasn't hunger. It was guilt, regret, fear. And then, the sound of gunshots split the night. The reckoning, the gunshots in the dark. The crack of gunfire shattered the night. Eli jerked back, his breath catching. Lily screamed. The bullets missed, striking the concrete behind him. Sparks exploded on impact. A voice bellowed, Freeze! Drop to the ground! The police had found him. Red and blue lights cut through the darkness, illuminating the abandoned gas station where he stood. Officers surrounded him, weapons raised, their faces hard with fear and determination. Eli's heart pounded. He could feel it, the hunger slithering through his veins, whispering to him, Kill them! Feed. Escape. His body tensed. He could end this right now. With one breath, he could drown them in red mist. Turn them into nothing. But then, Lily grabbed his hand, and suddenly the world snapped into focus. Eli, don't! She cried. This isn't you! Please! His vision blurred. The hunger screamed, clawing at him, demanding more. But then he looked at Lily, her tear-streaked face, her shaking hands. And for the first time in weeks, he saw himself through her eyes. Not as the victim, not as the hunter, but as the monster, the choice. For a moment, Eli stood frozen, trapped between two paths. The hunger was waiting. The police were waiting. And then, Eli did something he never expected. He let go of Lily's hand, and he ran. Not toward the officers, not toward the streets, but toward the forest, the place where everything began. The place where he could end it, the final pursuit. The police chased after him, their voices ringing through the trees. "Stop! Don't move!" Flashlights slashed through the branches, cutting through the dark. But Eli was faster. The hunger made him stronger. He could hear their footsteps pounding behind him, but he could also hear something else. Something beneath the earth, pulsing, calling him home. The abandoned chemical factory, it was waiting. He could feel its heartbeat in his bones. He ran faster. And then he was there, back to the beginning. The factory loomed in front of him, its rusted frame silhouetted against the sky. The entrance gaped like a mouth swallowing the night whole. Eli stumbled inside, his breath ragged, his body screaming for more. The hunger was worse than ever now. It clawed at him, writhing beneath his skin, demanding, "Feed! Kill! Consume!" But Eli didn't listen. Not anymore. He staggered toward the vat at the heart of the factory. The same crimson vat that had changed him. And now it was glowing again, pulsing, waiting, calling. The monster emerges. The moment Eli stepped forward, the liquid reacted. It shuddered. It rose. It formed something new, something with his face. His own reflection stared back at him, twisted and inhuman, eyes glowing like dying embers. And then it spoke. "You are mine." Eli staggered back, his pulse pounding. The voice wasn't human. It was something older, something deeper, something that had been waiting. "You are my vessel, my weapon, my vengeance." Eli's breath hitched. It had never been his power. It had never been his choice. He had been a pawn, a host for something far worse. And now it wanted full control, the ultimate sacrifice. Outside, the police were closing in. He could hear their voices, their footsteps, the crackle of radios. Lily was calling his name, somewhere beyond the trees. But it was too late. Eli stared at the crimson vat, his reflection grinning back at him. And in that moment, he understood. He had one last choice. The hunger wanted to spread, to consume the world, unless Eli ended it himself. He took a shaking breath. And then he stepped forward. Into the vat, the end of Eli Turner. The moment his body hit the liquid, the world exploded. Heat, fire, pain. The hunger screamed, but Eli didn't. He let it consume him, let it drown inside itself. He became part of it. And then he took it with him. The vat collapsed, the chemical reaction igniting. A blinding flash of red light burst through the factory, and then silence. The aftermath. By the time the police reached the factory, it was over. They found nothing but charred remains. The vat was destroyed. The crimson liquid was gone. And Eli Turner, he was never found. Only a single puddle remained, steaming on the factory floor. A puddle of red water. His last trace, his last warning. And just like that, Eli Turner vanished. Epilogue. The whisper lives on months past. Meadowgrove moved on. Or at least they tried. The disappearances were never explained. The official report called it a tragic case of mental illness. But Lily knew better. She stood at the edge of the ruined factory, staring at the scorched earth where Eli had died. Or at least, where he had ended himself. She closed her eyes, whispering a final goodbye. And then she heard it. A voice. A whisper. "I'm still here." Lily's blood ran cold. The wind picked up, carrying something with it. Something that smelled of rust and water. She turned and walked away, but she would never forget. Because deep in the earth, deep in the places no one dared to look, the hunger was waiting, and one day it would return. The end. Thank you for listening to Storytime with Killian Flynn. If you like his stories, go ahead and read some of his books. Check out his Ron bio, links, and description. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast.